de variis fortunis et inconstantia multitudinem bestiarum terrestrium et insidias bestiarum deorum solis. Or, on variable fortunes and inconstancy of the multitude of terrestrial beasts and the intrigues of the beasts of the sun gods. Witless are you mortals and doomed to foresee a lot, whether of good or evil, that comes upon you. For now in your heedlessness you have wrought folly past healing, for you witness the oath of the gods, the relentless waters of Styx. Hymn 2 to Demeter. As above, so below, is an ultimate statement related to the deep cosmic laws. It is a crying point for all ignorance, desiring for the whole of the universe to walk by the whim of their projection, religious or otherwise. For nowadays, people of earth have no relation to heavens, and rarely terrestrial-crowned philosophers join the Apollonic Dionysian spectacle of veritas. Between heaven and earth, wedged injustice strives delusion downright religious lies, supported by zealots delivering technical magic called miracle or by the mob, and seen as deceptions and illusions obscuring heavens to the wise and cognoscent. What are, therefore, heavens? Heavens are a cosmic spectacle revealing all mortal truth, where spirits become immortalized and assigned to study spheres, where the single diamond joins the arrow in divine fire, or the alien to the mortal comprehension, or the deprived or the animal in the generative phenomenal worlds, or the objective and passionless, governed by great forces and powers that bear little interest in the world of mortal animals, for the toil of high heavens is committed to the sustenance of the universe, not that of a mortal race on planet Earth. The heavens of Earth, a small planet in the solar system much given to abuse and lies, are different than the heavens of the sphere of Jupiter, and much different than the heavens of innumerable stars scattered across the galaxies. Hells of Earth offer more honesty, truth and ugliness, injustice than what nowadays is called heaven on Earth. Yet let us not fall to hells just for the sake of obliteration of the full heaven of Earth. Lucifer, Aphrodite, towers have fallen centuries ago, mismanaged, made ugly and ruinous, resembling Hesperia in Thanatos, Venus the evening star. It is worthy to strive for the outer heavens. For unearthly consolation of the stars and cosmic, noetic gods, when looking upon blue skies, brings sensation of fallenness sometimes, and hidden agendas of Levantine rotten stench that took the West with sedition, and made dharmic doctors and master magicians of the East hide from the onslaught of Western corruption. Look towards the nightly stars, and in the day to our most noble emperor of the house, the sun god. For injustice is sense to the utmost of our atoms, and true ideas as forces strike towards the deepest of our intellectual minds, hearts, souls and spirits, wanting us to follow them into forever, not settling for anything lesser, any surrogate, any lie. Laughable people of weakness, you are allowed to stay weak, for you constitute no danger to fortune and metaphysical powers. Ignorant and deluded, blinded and enslaved, living lives deadly, struggled by profound cosmic fates like a shoal of black-souled fishes upon the surface of great gargantuan chasm. Yet there is no pity for you, for the burdens and torments of the giants is greater, toil of gods mightier. Gigantomachia of the strong and resolute is oft twisted from the glorious forces of the suns above into Tartarism, or Cusian and dark. They themselves combated and wrestled with powers unimaginable, and yet hoped for Tyche to tip the swords of victory in their favor, encountering unimaginable superiority in numbers, strength, viciousness of the opposing foes whose main purpose was to preserve its thrones and prevent another heroic, frenzied mortal to become godlike or a little god. Great natures are out of necessity tragic, whether heroic or wretched. They are always surpassing the sways of mortals. Yet therein is contained the mystery. Great natures, tried by years and matured into utmost evil or overcoming benevolence, are like to great diamonds, therefore have the chance to become gods. How do we arrive at it? How do we contest it? Let us expose the concept of Orlog first, the Scandinavian concept. In this context, destiny is the all-powerful, the unalterable, but also the inaccessible to all thoughts and feelings. It is the absolutely superior power. It is incorruptible, deadly fatal, hostile destiny that mysteriously, ruthlessly, and unrelentingly rules over men. It rules all the eons of the world in all its cycles. It is like to Heimarmene and Ananke Kloto, but evidently cruelly ruthless from a mortal perspective. To see all fates of mortals joyful and elevated or downcast and tormented is to see Verd at work. To see the transience and that among the generative world the good things tend towards corruption and evil things tend towards decay and destruction over time. Sets a curse to wayward metaphysical liberation. To reach the world of eternal ideas, above the dying world, the ruins of past Coronia, to be an Orpheus singing the longing for a world that was, never was to become, never to become. Webs of fates are woven from inclinations, natures, teleology of a given ontology. Character sows fates, and fates influence nature, mind, soul, and emotions. Resiliency to fates and ordeals makes a great nature. It is alike to a dragon. It changes its marking 30 times and yet remains a dragon in spirit. Find yourself a strong man, woman, while some test themselves in society, others in metaphysical combat, some in grief, torment, pain and woe, some in pleasure, joy and gladness. What makes a man, a woman, is not merely being tested on grounds we are masters of the range, or compliant with our natural inclinations, but opposing us, overarching us, using our weaknesses and blemishes, corroding our strong points, and destroying our most prided ethos. After the battles, after the war, we are truly the sum of all the combat we survived, that broke and destroyed us. We are either broken men, women, or titans in that matter, and therefore called titans by the gods. There are no heroes and wretches here, just a grand test of our natures, characters, souls and spirits, to give justice to everyone. There are differences in resilience and sensitivity, to weaknesses and strengths. We have different minds, nerves, inclinations, natures, bodies, souls and spirits. There are no unbreakable people. There are no hopeless weaklings. There are no ever courageous heroes. There are no ever fleeing cowards. There are no unscathed knights. There are no completely scarred scoundrels. One may say that not only, as the great Nolano, Giordano Bruno posited, in the generative realm everything is a mixture of natures, but also that circumstances, natures, and inclinations are mixtures in themselves. In such concept of so-called Levantine sin is a chastisement to chase natures into doctrinary idiocy of slaves. Truly heroic natures are following the concept of gigantomachia. They derive good by discernment, despite tasting all natures, for evil and good, in a grand life, and reasonably picking the better in accordance with intellectual sun. The better being what is in Mahayana lenses the total end effect of a net of one's acts, as decided by one's own will, decision and responsibility. In other words, it is the total sum of one's life's ritual versus the combat one has led, measured in the judgment hall of Ma'at, against all movements of enemies that perverted and destroyed the mind, and thus may Horus the Elder vindicate me against the enemies. A weed of vice that grows unplucked overtakes the mind, growing into its conditioned stance and becomes irremovable. Then it may be pacified, but not eliminated. Yet if the weed of vice was a reaction to prolonged torment incited by enemies, then it must take place, and the natural effect is injustice, is wrath, vengeance, the striking sword of Themis. In other words, in some cases, evil is inevitable, but it is the insiders of evil in one's mind, not the victim that turns to just hatred, is the culprit. Gods are objective, omniscient if one must use this word, therefore the gods of justice must by necessity know the co-arising codependent causes and conditions. As such, sometimes the greatest wretches in the world are the most innocent ones, and perceived innocence of the most is the most cult machinery of calculations and blamed party when actively ignorantly in mass. No whitewashing stands the brutal occult machinery of calculation and objective forces and powers. Beware of religious bigots, pedants and idiots. They are the most destructive evils of the world, cherry-picking their image in order to feel good and innocent, they paved these citadels of hells, all together with the Messiah Jew, translated into Greek from Aramaic as Christos. The true word was Kronos, and he was not a Kronos, he was a Galilean, the one. To see all fates of the invisible world is to unveil a part of fortune, for from their behavior we may deduce a lot of philosophy. What appears a whim is profound, what may appear as profound is often a petty whim. There was a yogin committed his whole life to profound things. Before he reached parinirvana, a small spirit annoyed him, throwing him into decomposed violence and anger. Incited by a hell creature, using the occasion of annoyance, hence destroying his life's work. Right moment, right place, right time, right fate, right chance, right speech, right thought, right action, right mind, right training, right realizations, technique, right skills, propitiousness, right apotropaic rituals, right propitiations, right protection, combat and commitments. These are never permanent and swing from wrong to right. The master knows when they are right and when they are wrong, and no action should be taken but merely survived in discerning manner, withstood and overarched. Since most of the occult philosophies that guide towards success were set down already as foundations, every individual with enough sense, commitment, discipline and training may understand and incorporate those teachings within and shatter the fetters with the help of gods or via pratyeka buddhayana. It is rather that humans in great ignorance prefer to be blinded in great swaths and ignore the quality, knowledge and realizations rather than the teachings that are unavailable, occulted or obscure. Even if initiates find something, they may find charlatanry and plenty of falsehoods, taking it for veritabilities, and the more they progress in their blindness, the greater the Platonic catacombs they descend into. Now people are all eyes, ears and minds in Chanakya's words, Kautilya, if you satisfy their beliefs about the world and themselves. That common sense protects them, but it may also be populistically used in demagoguery against them. Philosophy is the light of all sciences. Kautilya, again, philosophia, love of truth and wisdom, not empty blabbering over ridiculous concepts or a corpse and an overgrowth of masturbating minds copulating with undivine nonsense. When veritable things are contradicting everything they live by, they protest, ridicule or flee. It is much harder than easier to remove the blinds on which our livelihood depends and reorganize successfully towards these study pathways. That's why the learning must be approached by a discerning student. Any form of indoctrination, brainwashing is a violation upon the personal realization of the student. The learning indicates, it points towards, but it doesn't teach you how to live by it. That is why inferior minds never grasp any teachings. The medium ones require instruction, and superior minds grasp it on their own. It is the quest of every new child to ascend and fill the thrones of gods. Yet when abandoning the miracle, children grow into mere old fools. All great work is done individually. All ascend to each his soul and daimon, for every commitment laid at the altars of divinities. Each motion and change has a relation, interval, proportion, ratio, function, dynamics, entropy, harmonies, force, power, character, inclination and nature, both potential, actual, pronoic, foresighted and generated, manifested in the eternal present, contingent to every time. It is made from co-arising codependent seeds that cast and project new seeds continuously on the function of time, events and phenomena. Every perspective is giving different coordinates and points of reference, although the autonomous system is indivisible. Any ontology from within it is casting a projection based on its inner perception, sets of tainted vectors, reflexes and introjects an observation. Let's use the term black body from the physical sciences. The black body of the occult is giving away exactly the same aforementioned information from powers as it receives. It is a perfect catalyst. The ontologies contained within this system are always straying from the perfect catalyst. That is, they are filtering the dynamics and ousia essences according to their necessity. In Galenian terms, the physicists at the court of Marcus Aurelius, the black body would be considered an eukaryotic, the ultimate health component, and serves as a point of reference, while krasia, or generally magical competence, is the ability to emulate aforementioned dynamics as close to the perfection the black body as possible, tainted by one's motive, desire, will, and vision. That is the limit. Each such point in time demands different approaches, tools, and perceptions in order to be concordant with the atmosphere and content of the motion and change. Now, on the example of Olympiodor from Letters of Iamblichus, let us establish a principle that the highest activity of a mortal animal is to sustain the greatest, widest, highest perception and intellections and feelings, to pitch one's daimon, soul, heart, mind, and arete, virtue, in the most immovable, stable, homogeneous, continuous manner, preserving such an outlook for the majority of life, attuning to the high starry vault, to the liberated gods and goddesses, and from them deriving all the qualities and proportions, intervals and ratios that are compatible with our nature, our inclinations, the circumstances, this whole social setting, the common sense and knowledge, fellow creatures and the world around us, but surpassing it in a degree that help us amend the corrosions and necessary corruptions encountered as mortals in the world of nature, other humans at all. To overcome them and navigate towards the most beautiful and splendid divine things in moderation that is us a divine pride. It doesn't put on superficial airs. It doesn't deflate or humiliate itself. It is neither burdened by excesses nor passion, nor by stern, sterile coldness. So much for theory. Let us analyze the metaphysics of ethos as it may occur on earth, among mortals, setting forth equations that describe the approximated conduct, incorporation of the divine ideas into our lifeblood, without being universalist, moralist, or any such form of autocrat, sacrosanct idiots that enforce a being incompatible with nature, motion, difference, otherness, and chance among humans. Let us indulge in a categorical exercise, stripping the dynamics of forces of all sentiment and attempting to coldly analytically think. A quest in simplicity that cuts our skeletal necessities for the purpose of defining most beautiful forms and ideas, but absolutely not constituting any theory of completeness. Hence, over changes in time, we take such variables as motion, defined by force stemming from difference, against sameness, difference as motion amongst flashes of phenomenal events, diversity defined as organizational entropy between minima of total simplicity through complex adaptive systems down to maxima of abysmal chaos and patterns of events contained therein. Causality, co-arising, codependent, pockets of entropy, causality in topological spaces delimited by deep grammar of the universe, spherically, and simple physical causality, A causes B. On the horizontal linear level, therefore causality as a relational pattern between differences, sameness, force, and motion. Deriving the total sum of these qualities constitutes a metacycle and is based on knowledge, observation, perspective, understanding, insight, experiment, hypothesis, and imagination. Now, what a wondrous thing that within a single short lifetime of a mortal we may carry the weight of thousands of years of history in order to understand our place in the world. In a way, we are all prisoners of the present, but those who seek the past and futures contain millennia within their life. Then, from what is derived from observation, from an inner wisdom, we draw maps of relational causality spanning celestial motions, gods, natures, and mortals. We establish what qualities and essences pertain to each one of them over time, scaling it and hence drawing bridges throughout time and spaces, geographies of the sacred, profane, temporality of transient, and atemporality of the infinite. Thus, establishing the essences and qualities for each time, we establish what is superior, what is a medium, what is inferior, what is the median, what is the minima, and what is the maxima. What is the common denominator of the time, and how we should act in order to adapt and maximize the excellence according to the discoveries we make. Now, a surprise word. Hic Sunt Dracontes. What is a dragon? There's so much talk about this dragon, red dragon, this and that. So what is a dragon? It is a daimon spirit stemming from old Sumerian covenants, born of the third transcendent fire through the corridor of fire, our star, Helios, from a hypersolar hyperionic realities. In Buddhist terms, a red fire Vajra, and taking a soul and spirit down sky to the human form. Reborn in flesh from a mortal woman. Now, you may call it son of gods, goddesses, Aurelian Therion. That was the title of the old beast Marcus Aurelius. Beast was an imperial title in Rome. From the Sabian house of Ausa. That has nothing to do with anything Judeo-Christian, all the bad press about the beast. Actually, it is Judeo-Christianity that invented against the many imperial beasts sent from heaven, east and west throughout centuries. The dragon emperors of China, the dragon sages of China. It is wholly an enemy to all Judeo-Christian concepts, as Judeo-Christianity was and is the enemy of truth, enslaving people with lies, destroying mysteries of truth with the fake figure of a Galilean liar, and selling out the human race, amassing power and wealth through lies by the master of the flies to whose corpse the flies amass. Therefore the dragon is a natural so-called antichrist, the lies of a Galilean nobody. How can you be an antichrist if you are compared millions of people superior to that pathetic worm that is a symbol merely, and in life it was a mere worm and nobody? You would have to call millions of people superior to that little shit of the Levant Antichrist, which is tremendously stupid. Jesus, that had no imperial nor heavenly descent, no titles. A beast surpassing the Galilean master of the flies, that liar, thousandfold times if you will. An imperial beast of solar god, Deiterion. That was the imperial title, the beast of God, of solar God, not of the Judean God. Surpassing the religion of liar, if you please, and is bestowing the realization of heavens, yet never claiming the objective truth of gods, as in Parmenidean doxology, removed from it by taking a mortal form. In Seneca, Apocalyptosis, where nobody believed he was quite born, a proverb for a nobody. I can commiserate with Claudius in this instance. And Marcus Valerius Messala Corvinus, appointed Prefectus Urbi, resigned within a week, saying, I am ashamed of my authority. Even if capable of holding an empire in the eyes of gods, who would like to govern over worthless vile idiots that destroy and still gaining nothing apart from transient things of fools? The idiotes, at the Greek, unwise. Don't confuse honesty with truth and scheming with lies. People believe just any bullshit and they are honest about it. Intelligent people scheme in order to accentuate the wiser parts and the confused, if they have any ethos whatsoever. As for objective truth, it is unavailable to mortal minds, forever barred on the mountain of truth. There is conventional truth, of course, relative truth, agreeable truth, accepted truth, conditioned truth. There is tradition, scientific fact, empirical truth, mathematical truth and evidence. It is tricky in theology, metaphysics, magic and philosophy, because we all have our inner truth, a hard-won network of realizations, wisdoms and experiences. Sometimes they conjoin, sometimes they're completely to the opposite. So, in such moments we preserve diamond-like clarity, observe and have certainties that we must cherish in order to sustain our reality. Belief systems that are mere vehicles of realization. If someone abandons belief systems that are nonsensical, that's just one step. If someone furthers his delusion, he multiplies delusion by delusion with certain beliefs. if he has other beliefs or discards beliefs, he may multiply realization by realization, but by practice, not by believing this or that. This is merely a cognitive twitch that either may liberate your mind or enslave it. Without it, our inner worlds would fall apart, certainties. Yet realizations, when it is a delusion, is a cognitive bias that becomes like honesty about one's own bullshit. We believe it, but we haven't attained something. We believe our beliefs are true, but they are false to another. Question, research, experience, the moments come and go. Retain what is wise, beautiful, noble and useful. Discern and discard bullshit. And you may discard my bullshit if you consider it such, but go seek for your own. And don't stop neither at blind belief systems or atheistic ideas, because there is so much more to explore, and do it in an organized fashion, like a juggernaut of intelligence, reason, brightness and illumination. No one will do it for you. It's your path. Thank you.